Okay, welcome back. So now that the Four Nations tournament has come to an end, on Saturday, February 22nd, there were 14 games on tap for the NHL schedule. So we're heading into the end of February. I'm pretty sure the trade deadline is not too far around the corner, it might be just a few weeks away. So a lot of crucial games for teams that are either trying to play catch up in the standings or for those that are trying to hold on to their spot. So again, a lot of crucial games, a lot of critical points from here on out. So this game didn't wasn't the first game on tap, but because I cheer for Montreal, it's always going to be the first team that shows up. It could be the last game of the night, but it's still going to show up as your favorites if you follow the NHL or have a favorite team on the app. So the Montreal Canadiens went into Ottawa, and just because I know there's going to be advertisements throughout this, and to speed up the video, I'm just going to go through all the goals, and then I will take a look at the standings as of Sunday morning. So Brendan Gallagher would kick things off for Montreal in the first, getting his 15th goal of the season unassisted, 228 of the opening frame. Cole Caulfield, who is getting close to 30 goals, which would be a career high, would get his 27th goal of the season from Arber Xhekaj and David Savard, 428 of the first period. Jake Sanderson would score on the power play, getting his sixth of the season, assisted by Batherson and Tim Stützle, 13-20 of the first. And speaking as Tim Stützle, he would tie the game up 15-54, of the first period, unassisted. So we had 4 goals in the first 20 minutes. Actually, that was a lie. Trelawney would score on the power play, giving Montreal a 3-2 lead on his 13th of the year, assisted by Lane Hudson and Nick Suzuki. 16-13 of the first. So we had 5 goals in the first 20 minutes. Josh Anderson would increase the lead to 4-2, getting his 9th of the year from Brendan Gallagher and Christian Dvorak, 5-14 of the second. Juraj Slafkovsky would increase the lead to 5-2, getting his 9th goal of the season, assisted by Suzuki and Jaden Struble, 11:32 of the second period, and that's where we would sit at the end of this matchup. No goals were scored in the final 20 minutes. All right, the early afternoon game took place in Detroit as we had the Red Wings playing host to the Minnesota Wild. Alex DeBrincat would kick things off for Detroit in the first, getting his 25th goal of the season, assisted by Kopp and Tarasenko, 7:54 of the first period. Dylan Larkin would increase the lead to 2-0, 5:41 of the second, getting a power play goal. For Larkin, that would be his 24th of the season, assisted by DeBrincat and Lucas Raymond. Vinny Hinostroza still doesn't have a picture, which is kind of crazy to think. We'll get his second goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Matt Boldy, 8:05 of the second. Lucas Raymond would increase the lead to 3-1, getting a power play goal early in the third, his 22nd of the season from Larkin and Patrick Kane, just 22 seconds into the third frame. Matt Boldy would cut the lead to 3-2, getting his 21st goal of the season, assisted by Marcus Johansson and Frederick Gaudreau. 13:07 of the third. Marcus Foligno would tie the game up with a minute and a half to go, getting his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Rossi and Marcus Johansson. We would need overtime to settle this one, and Rossi, who had an assist on the game-tying goal, would get the game-winning goal, his 20th of the season, assisted by Eriksson Ek, 3:35 of the overtime frame. So the Wild would win 4-3. Now we're off to Philly as we had the Flyers playing host to the Edmonton Oilers. Matvei Michkov would kick things off for the Flyers in the first period, getting his 17th of the season, assisted by Scott Laughton and Zamula, 2:07 of the opening frame. John Klingberg would tie the game up at 1, getting his first goal as an Edmonton Oiler, assisted by Emberson and Connor Brown, 7:06 of the first. Leon Draisaitl would strike, getting his leading 41st goal of the season, assisted by Savoie, who just got a call up from the minors, I do believe, and John Klingberg. So Klingberg had a goal and an assist in this game. 9:31 of the first. Owen Tippett would tie the game up at 2, 1 minute and 45 seconds into the second, getting his 15th goal of the season unassisted. Sean Couturier would give the Flyers a 3-2 lead, his 9th of the year, assisted by Michkov, 7:13 of the second. Matthias Ekholm would tie the game up at 3, getting his 8th goal of the year, assisted by Leon Draisaitl, 8:34 of the second period. Owen Tippett would give the Flyers a 4-3 lead, his second goal of the game, his 16th of the season, assisted by Michkov and Couturier. Andrei Kuzmenko would get his 5th goal of the season on the power play, increasing the lead to 5-3. For Kuzmenko, that'd be his 5th goal of the season, assisted by Konechny and Ristolainen, 15:37 of the second. Late in the third, the Oilers were down by 2 with over 3 minutes to go. Pulled their goalie. Unfortunately, it did not mount to anything, as Rasmus Ristolainen would get the empty net goal, his 3rd of the year, assisted by Sean Couturier. So Philly would double up on Edmonton, 6-3. All right, let's talk about a game that was close in the second, but then it kind of blew up in the Penguins' faces. Ethan Frank would get his 4th goal of the year from Majapani and Sandin, I do believe, 5:13 of the opening period. Chris Letang would tie the game up at 1, getting his 8th goal of the season on the power play from Malkin and Tomasino, 18:21 of the first period. I do apologize. Just a minute and 10 seconds into the second, Martin Fehervary would get his 2nd goal of the season from Duhaime and Radish. Sidney Crosby would tie the game up at 2, 6:36 of the second, getting his 18th of the year from Rakell and Erik Karlsson. After this, it was one-sided, let's put it that way, for the rest of the game. And you can see the score on the screen as well. Jacob Chichurkin would give the Capitals a 3-2 lead, getting his 15th of the year, assisted by Dubois and McMichael, 10:38 of the second period. He would score yet again, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 16th of the season from Dubois and Trevor Van Riemsdyk, 14:17 of the second. Alexei Protas would increase the lead to 5-2, getting his 23rd of the year from Sandin and John Carlson, 14:25 of the second. And Tom Wilson would score with just under 2 minutes to go in the second, getting his 6th of the year, his 25th of the season from Fehervary and Matt Roy. Yeah. Dylan Strome would score over halfway through the third period, getting a power play goal, his 17th of the year from Radish and Dubois, 13:11 of the third period, increasing the lead to 7-2. Danton Heinen would finally stop the bleeding, getting the Penguins their 3rd goal of the game, his 7th of the season, assisted by Tomasino and Kevin Hayes. Brandon Duhaime would increase the lead to 8-3, assisted by Matt Roy. For Duhaime, that'd be his 7th of the season, and that goal happened 17:19 of the third period. And I know I've said this a few times, but I do apologize for the quality. I'm very much aware it is kind of blurry, but unfortunately, this is the best that I can do. All right, so we went from a game that was 8-3 to the final to a game that was 8-2 for the final. Excuse me. The Buffalo Sabres played host to the New York Rangers. Jack Quinn would score, opening up through scoring for the Sabres, getting his 10th of the season unassisted, a minute 46 of the opening period. Rasmus Dahlin would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 8th goal of the year from Jordan Greenway, 11:58 of the first. T.H. Thompson would increase the lead to 3-0, getting his 27th of the year, assisted by J.J. Peterka, 15:32 of the first period. And just 2 minutes and 1 second after that, Ryan McLeod would increase the lead to 4-0, getting his 13th of the year from Dahlin and Jason Zucker. Dahlin would get his 2nd goal of the game on the power play, his 9th of the season from Tage Thompson and Jason Zucker, 18:21 of the first. So to say the Sabres were in total control would be an absolute understatement. Chris Kreider would finally get the Rangers on the board in the second, getting a power play goal, his 17th of the season, assisted by Panarin and JT Miller, 5:29 of the second frame. Mika Zibanejad would get the Rangers their second goal of the game, his 12th of the season from Fox and JT Miller, 11:25 of the middle frame. Tage Thompson would get his second goal of the game, his 28th of the season, assisted by Kulik, 3:47 of the third period, increasing the lead to 6-2. Ryan McLeod would get his second goal of the game, his 14th of the season, from Jason Zucker and Owen Power, 5:40 of the third period. And to top things off, Henry Yoki-Haru, I believe, would get his second goal of the season, assisted by Benson and Gilbert. And that goal happened with 36 seconds to go in the third. So the Sabres would quadruple up 2-4-6-8 on the Rangers, 8-2. All right, finally back to a low-scoring game for the first time in a few different ones between the Seattle Kraken and the host Florida Panthers. So Kakko would kick things off for Seattle in the first, getting his 10th of the season on the power play from Matt Beniers and Shane Wright, 6:32 of the opening frame. In the second, Ito Luostarinen would score, tying the game up at 1, getting his 8th of the year, assisted by Lundell and Mikkola, 11:37 of the second. I'm pretty sure all three of those guys played for Team Finland too, so coincidence? Who knows? Jared McCann would end up getting the game-winning goal, his 15th of the season, assisted by Adam Larson and Shane Wright, 7:03 of the third period. So the Kraken would win a low-scoring game, 2-1. All right, now we're off to New Jersey as the Devils played host to the Dallas Stars. Evgeny Danonov would kick things off for Dallas, getting his 16th of the year, assisted by Matt Dumba and Marvin Bourque, I do believe, 3:58 of the first period. Thomas Harley would double up on the lead, 2-0, getting his 10th of the year, assisted by Matt Duchene and Wyatt Johnston, 5:44 of the first. There was no scoring in the second. Heading into the third, the Devils were still down 2-0. Jack Hughes would finally get on the goal score sheet exactly halfway through the third, getting his 25th of the season on the power play from Dougie Hamilton and Jesper Bratt. It wasn't that long-lived, though, as 35 seconds after that, Matt Duchene would give the Dallas Stars a 2-goal lead again, getting his 23rd of the season, assisted by Jamie Benn. The Stars are up 3-1 at that point. A minute and 5 seconds after that, Jack Hughes would get his second goal of the game, his 26th of the season, assisted by Bratt and Hamilton, 11:40 of the third. So there was 4 goals scored in the third, 2 by each side, but because Dallas had a 2-0 lead heading into the third, they would win by 2 goals. All right, now we're off to Smashville, or Nashville, as the Predators played host to the Colorado Avalanche. Sam Malinski would kick things off for Colorado in the second period, I do apologize, getting his second goal of the season, assisted by Jonathan Drouin and Parsonen. Justin Barron would tie the game up at 1, just 30 seconds after that, getting his 4th goal of the year, assisted by Sissons and Cole Smith. Jonathan Marchessault would get the go-ahead goal, the game-winning goal, 9:11 of the third period, his 18th of the season, assisted by Luke Schenn and Roman Josi. So Nashville would win 2-1. All right, now we're off to Beantown as we had the Bruins playing host to the Anaheim Ducks. So Trevor Zegras would open up the scoring for Anaheim in the first, getting his 7th of the year, assisted by Lacombe and Leo Carlsson, 17:27 of the first. Frank Vatrano would increase the lead to 2-0 with 38 seconds to go, getting his 17th of the year, assisted by Gudas and Lacombe. So the Ducks had a 2-0 lead heading into the second. Elias Lindholm would cut into the lead, getting his 11th goal of the season on the power play from Pasternak and Lohrei, 9:08 of the middle frame. A minute and 11 seconds were remaining on the clock. Morgan Geekie would tie the game up at 2, getting his 18th of the season from Lohrei and Brad Marchand. We would need overtime to settle this one, and Leo Carlsson would get the game-winning goal, his 10th of the year from Brian Dumoulin and Troy Terry, 3:39 of the overtime frame. So the Ducks win 3-2. All right, now we're off to Toronto as we have the Maple Leafs who played host to the Carolina Hurricanes. Alex Steeves will get his first National Hockey League goal, assisted by John Tavares, 2 minutes and 50 seconds of the first. Pontus Holmberg would increase the lead to 2-0. It would be an own goal, so it would go off a Carolina player, increasing the lead to 2-0 for the Maple Leafs, 3:29 of the first. David Kampf would increase the lead to 3-0, getting his fourth of the season from Lorentz and Steeves, 6:39 of the first period. John Tavares would increase the lead to 4-0, getting his 22nd of the year from Nylander and Holmberg, 15:06 of the first. Shane Gothenburg would finally stop the bleeding, getting the Hurricanes their first goal of the game, 12:25 of the third. That would be his seventh of the season from Aho and Svechnikov. Speaking of Svechnikov, he'd cut into the lead, getting his 18th of the season from Rantanen and Shane Gothenburg, 14:46 of the third. Jacob Slavin would score, cutting the lead to 1. For Slavin, that'd be his fifth goal of the year from Jordan Stahl. And Brett Burns, 15:06 of the third. So they had 3 goals in about a 2.5-minute stretch. Cutting the lead to 4-3. They would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, the Hurricanes were able to score. After that, Austin Matthews would get the empty netter, assisted by Christian Tanev, 18:37 of the third. And the Hurricanes were still down by 2 goals. They pulled their goalie again, and Pontus Holmberg would get his second goal of the game. This time he actually shot it, and it went in. Didn't go off a Carolina player, and assisted by William Nylander. And that goal happened with 20 seconds to go on the clock. So realistically, if they didn't get the 2 empty net goals, it would have been a 4-3. The score really doesn't do it justice, even though the Leafs did have a 4-0 lead at one point. All right, now we're off to Columbus as we have the Blue Jackets playing host to the Chicago Blackhawks. Kent Johnson would kick things off for Columbus in the first, getting his 18th of the season, assisted by Sillinger and Zach Werenski, who has 43 assists on the season. I think there was a reason why he got invited to Team USA at the Four Nations faceoff. 4 minutes and 10 seconds of the first. Kent Johnson would score yet again his second goal of the game, 1 minute and 12 seconds into the second, getting an assist from Werenski, who had 44, and Voronikov, 1 minute and 12 seconds of the second period. Craig Smith would finally get the Blackhawks on the board for 53 of the second, getting a power play goal. His 8th of the season, assist by Vlasic and Nazar. Denton Matejchuk would get his second goal of the season, unassisted, 12:42 of the second, giving the Blue Jackets a 3-1 lead. Zach Werenski would get on the goal scorer sheet, increasing lead to 4-1, assisted by Boone Jenner, who got his first assist of the season. It's hard to believe. And Sillinger, 13:51 of the third. Adam Fantilli would increase the lead to 5-1, getting his 16th of the year from Marchenko and Voronikov, 14:44 of the third. So the game was pretty much over at that point. They just increased the lead to 5-1. All right, now we're off to St. Louis as we had the Blues playing host to the leading Winnipeg Jets, standings-wise at least. Nick Ehlers would kick things off in the first period, getting his 18th of the season from Perfetti and Namestnikov. Rob Thomas would tie the game up at 1, getting his 14th of the year from Buchnevich, 15:34 of the first. Gabriel Velarde would get his 25th goal of the season, giving the Jets a 2-1 lead, assisted by Scheifele and Colin Miller, 11:01 of the second. Robert Thomas would get his second goal of the game, his 15th of the season from Buchnevich and Cam Fowler, just 16 seconds into the third period. Pavel Buchnevich would put the Blues on top with under 3 minutes to go, getting his 12th of the season on the power play from Robert Thomas and Sundqvist. So Robert Thomas had 2 goals and an assist in this game. Gabriel Velarde would score with 28 seconds to go, getting his second goal of the game, his 26th of the season from Kyle Connor and Perfetti. We would need overtime to settle this one. Unfortunately, nobody scored, so therefore a shootout. And Kyle Connor, big surprise, would get the game-winning goal for the Winnipeg Jets. So the Jets would win 4-3 in a shootout. All right, now we're off to LA as we had the Kings playing host to the Utah Hockey Club. Brett Hayton would kick things off for Utah in the first, getting his 13th of the year, assisted by Schmaltz and Genther. 7:54 of the first on the power play. Drew Doughty, after spending most of the season, or pretty much the majority of the season, hurt, would finally get his first goal of the season, assisted by Kevin Fiala and Joel Edmondson. So welcome back, Drew. 8:22 of the first. Barrett Hayton would score, increasing lead to 2-1 for Utah, getting his 14th of the season from Schmaltz and Keller. 5:50 of the second period. Kevin Fiala would tie the game up at 2 on a power play of his own, his 22nd of the year from Kopitar and Drew Doughty. 7:59 of the second period. Alex Lafayette would increase the lead to 3-2, giving the Kings their first lead of the night. His 15th of the season from Drew Doughty and Joel Edmondson. 16:10 of the second period. In the third, Trevor Lewis would break the tie, or increase the lead to 4-2, I should say. It would end up being the game-winning goal. Spoiler alert. For Lewis, that'd be his fourth goal of the season from Spence and Philippe Deneau. 9:41 of the third. Barrett Hayton would cut into the lead 11 minutes into the third. For Hayton, that'd be his 15th of the season from Carcone and Sean Dursey. Utah would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, it did not pan out, as Mikey Anderson would get the empty net goal, assisted by Philippe Deneau, with a minute and a half to go in the game. So the Kings would win 5-3. And the last game, finally, we made it. Took place between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Vancouver Canucks. So Jake DeBrusk would kick things off for Vancouver in the second period, I apologize, getting his 20th of the season from Sherwood and Cody Soucy, either way. We'll just go with Colton Soucy, I think. Ivan Barbashev would tie the game up in the second, getting his 16th of the season from Olofsson and Korchik, I do believe, 11:02 of the second frame. Brennan Saad would get his 9th of the year from Whitecloud and Howden, just 18 seconds into the third period. That would end up being the game-winning goal. And late in the third, Vancouver pulled their goalie. Unfortunately, they were not able to capitalize on it, as Thomas Hertl would get the empty netter, his 22nd of the season from Howden and Nick Waugh. And that goal happened with 31 seconds to go in the game. All right, so now that I've reviewed all the games, we'll take a look at the standings here. If I can get this tablet to kind of stay a little still. Again, I do apologize for the blurriness and for the wobbliness as well. So just trying my best here. So Florida is still leading the Atlantic Division with 34 wins, 21 losses, 3 overtime losses / shootout losses. They have 71 points as we speak. The Toronto Maple Leafs are... Oh, I got to do the wild card. My bad. There we go. That's better. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in second place in that division. They have 34, 20, and 2 as a record. They have 70 points, just 1 point behind Florida. Tampa Bay is rounding out that top 3. There's 4 points behind Toronto now for second place. Their record's 31, 20, and 4. They have 66 points. I think they're doing a little bit better this season than they did last year when they finished as a wild card spot. Not saying that they are going to drop, but who would have guessed that subtracting Stamkos from your lineup would make you a little bit better? I definitely didn't see them having as much success, honestly, this year without their captain, former captain. All right, now we're going to go take a look at the Metropolitan Division. Not a whole lot has changed there. Washington is still in first place with a record of 37, 11, and 8. They have 82 points. There we go. The Carolina Hurricanes are 33, 20, and 4. They have 70 points. And the New Jersey Devils are 2 points behind Carolina with a record of 31, 21, and 6. They have 68 points. Top 2 teams in the wild card look like this. The Detroit Red Wings are in the first wild card position with a record of 28, 22, and 6. They have 62 points. The Ottawa Senators also have 62 points. Their record is 29, 24, and 4. And on the outside, looking in, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets. Despite their win, they're still on the outside. They're 27, 22, and 8. They have 62 points. The Boston Bruins are 27, 24, and 7. They have 61 points. The New York Rangers are 27, 25, and 4. They have 58 points. The New York Islanders are 25, 23, and 7. They have 57 points. The Montreal Canadiens are 26, 26, and 5. They have 57 points. The Philadelphia Flyers are 25, 26, and 7. They have 57 points as well. The Pittsburgh Penguins are 23, 26, and 9. They have 55 points. And the Buffalo Sabres, even though they had a huge blowout win over the Rangers, are still in last place in the Eastern Conference. They are 23, 27, and 5. They have 51 points. They're 11 points out of a playoff spot. So not all hope is lost. Oh, shoot, I should have scrolled down so I could actually see the other teams. I do apologize. So there you can see the bottom teams of the Eastern Conference. So I wouldn't say that Buffalo is completely out of it, but I feel like it's a lot closer on the top of that division. So if I were to guess, I'd say like the Blue Jackets and the Bruins, and I'll even put the Rangers because they have, even though they got blown up, they have shown a little bit more of an improvement considering how disastrous they were just like a month or two ago. Those would be like my top three teams. Other than that, between the Islanders, the Canadiens, and the Flyers, yes, they all have 57 points, and they're technically only 5 points out of a playoff spot. But I don't think all three of those teams are going to like go on a huge run. But there's still plenty of hockey to be left. Let me just scroll over here. So every team has played over 50 games, so every team has less than 30 games remaining on their schedule. So anything can happen, but I think the real contenders, like I said, are the Blue Jackets, the Bruins, because they're either even or 1 point back out of a playoff spot. So like a win for either of those teams, they could easily flip positions with Detroit and Ottawa respectively. Whereas the Rangers, they'd have to win 3 games in a row, and the Islanders, Canadiens, and Flyers will all have to win 3 games in a row as well, and then they'd have to hope that the Bruins and the Jackets and the Sens and the Red Wings all lost 3 games. So I've said this in a lot of videos. If you're relying on other teams to lose rather than you winning, then it's not really a recipe for success, in my opinion. All right, now we're off to the Western Conference as we have the Central Division to look at first. Oh, whatever. I'll put both of them in there. Or the best I can, at least. Okay, so for the Winnipeg Jets, they are still the best team in the NHL with a record of 40, 14, and 3. They have 83 points. The Dallas Stars are in second place in that division with a record of 36, 18, and 2. They have 74 points, 9 points back of Winnipeg. And the Minnesota Wild, despite their win, they're still in third place with a record of 34, 19, and 4. They have 72 points. They're 2 points behind the Stars. All right, now we'll take a look at the Pacific Division, which I think is going to flip back and forth between Vegas and Edmonton, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. So after the win, Vegas is back in first place with a record of 34, 17, and 6. They have 74 points. The Edmonton Oilers are 34, 18, and 4. They have 72 points. So therefore, they're 2 points behind Vegas. And LA just seems to be lingering around the third spot with a record of 30, 17, and 7. 67 points so far. All right, the two teams in the wild card look like this. The Colorado Avalanche are 33, 23, and 2. They have 68 points. The Vancouver Canucks are 26, 19, and 11. They have 63 points, despite their loss to Vegas. All right, now take a look at the rest of the teams from the Western Conference, or get as many teams into this video as I can. Sorry. So the Calgary Flames are on the outside looking in. They are 3 points behind Vancouver for that final wild card spot. They have a record of 26, 21, and 8. The Utah Hockey Club are 24, 24, and 9. They have 57 points. The Anaheim Ducks are 25, 24, and 6. They have 56 points. The St. Louis Blues are 25, 26, and 6. They also have 56 points. The Seattle Kraken are 25, 29, and 4. They have 54 points. The Nashville Predators are 20, 28, and 7. They have 47 points. The Chicago Blackhawks are 17, 32, and 7. They have 41 points. And if I tip this a little forward, the San Jose Sharks are at the bottom of the league with a record of 15, 35, and 7. So, like I said before, a lot of teams, they have under 30 games, just over 20 games to go on their schedule. So, from the Western side of things, I'll just kind of tilt this back a little bit. And again, I know this is very blurry, so I'm going to do my best to just tell you rather than make you look and squint your eyes. So the two wildcard teams, like I think Colorado's definitely a lock for the playoffs. I don't see them going on a 4 or 5 game losing streak and have other teams jump ahead of them. And the fact that Colorado, if I can just quickly take a look at the other standings, they're only 4 points behind Minnesota. So I can easily see a team like Colorado winning 2 or 3 games, Minnesota possibly losing a couple of games, and then before you know it, maybe it's possible Colorado finds himself back into that top 3 spot of the Central Division. So they're only, like I said, 4 points back in Minnesota. That's 2 wins. And if they happen to play Minnesota and win, then that'll obviously be a huge for them as well because they're trying to get closer and closer to getting to that third and final spot in the division. As for the Canucks, they've been a little wishy-washy this season. They've had some good times, they've had some bad times, and now I believe that whole drama with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson is behind them. That they definitely seem to have improved the morale of the team, and that's huge because there's nothing worse than having tension between players because you're going to have some guys taking one person's side, some taking the others. So it's definitely good to get that out of the way. Um, they do have a 3 point lead on the Flames, which isn't really much, honestly, because Vancouver, because they did lose. If they happen to lose one more game and say Calgary wins 2 more, then Calgary could easily flip positions with the Canucks. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just looking at the rest of the standings. Like Utah's got 57 points, the Ducks got 56, and like a lot of teams that are in that range, they're 7 to 8 points out of a playoff spot. I think it's just too big a hill to climb for the teams like the Ducks and whoever else is below them, the Blues, the Kraken. Like, I'm going to be real with you. Like, Nashville's not making the playoffs. Chicago's not making the playoffs. And San Jose's for sure not making the playoffs. Those are the 3 teams I can for sure confirm are not making the playoffs because they're all 16 points or more behind Vancouver for that last wild card spot. But then as you look at the standings for Seattle, they're 9 points out. Are they likely to miss it? Probably, because when you're almost 10 points out of a playoff spot, you need 5 wins in a row. Therefore, you need the other team to win to lose 5 in a row. So I think it's just too tough for a team like Seattle to try to hope to make a push for a playoff spot this late in the season. The St. Louis Blues are in the same boat as the Ducks, both have 56 points. They're both technically 7 points out of a playoff spot. I wouldn't say all hope is lost for the Blues and Ducks, but again, you'd have to win 4 in a row. Both these teams would have to win 4 in a row, and then you'd have to hope that Utah, Calgary, Vancouver all go on 4 or 5 game losing streaks just so you can possibly catch up to them. So for the Ducks and the Blues, again, 7 points out of a playoff spot. It's tough, not impossible, but I think it's it's not going to be easy, to say the least. For Utah, they're technically only 6 points out of a playoff spot. So is it possible they could go on a 3 game losing streak and the Canucks could lose 3 games? It's possible, but not probable, if that makes any sense. So I think that the only team that really realistically has a chance to beat out Vancouver, say, for that last wildcard spot, because again, I think Colorado is a definite lock for the playoffs this season. I'd say the Flames would be the biggest threat to Vancouver to play catch up, because again, if Calgary wins one more game, they're only 1 point behind Vancouver. So it'll be interesting to see how this season pans out. I can't wait for the playoffs. I don't know what it is, but it's just the most exciting time of the year, at least for hockey fans at that. Again, I apologize so deeply and so badly about the quality of this. I know that the names have been a little blurry and so have the numbers. So that's why I'm trying my best to just tell you what it is that I'm seeing on the screen. So I've been flipping back and forth between my tablets, so I might have to go back to the other one where you can actually kind of see it a little bit. But again, it's better than nothing. Anyways, as always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, oops, put my hand over the camera. Take care.